Welcome to this edition of Inside Sports. I'm your host, Nodley Wright. In this week's episode, we'll be looking at the role and function of the Jamaica Olympic Association regarding the development of sport here in Jamaica. The discussion begins when we return. Welcome back to Inside Sports. I'm Nodley Wright. The Jamaica Olympic Association is a member of the International Olympic Committee, and its mandate is that of developing, promoting, and protecting the Olympic movement in Jamaica, and to ensure that athletes from Jamaica attend the Olympic Games. But what does all of that mean? With me to discuss is the president of the Jamaica Olympic Association, Christopher Samuda. Welcome to Inside Sports. Sir Chris?
Thank you very much, Nodley, and good afternoon to your viewers.
Thank you. Sir Chris, tell us, what is the Jamaica Olympic Association? We hear of it, but what is it really? And when was it founded and by whom?
The Jamaica Olympic Association is the apex governing body for not only Olympic sports, but also non-Olympic sport. It was founded in 1936, and the reports are that Norman Washington Manny had a very instrumental role where the formation of the association was concerned. We are principally a sport organization, but we also carry out some other functions which are related to sports as well. So you find that we are an advocacy group. We advocate on behalf of our members and the Olympic movement. And our primary responsibility is to protect the Olympic movement in Jamaica, its assets, its trademarks, and of course embody the principles and aphorisms of the Olympic movement. So it's a broad mandate, and therefore we have to be very economical in terms of how we treat it. And certainly from an Olympic perspective, we have to ensure that we abide strictly and fully with the precepts as well as the principles of Olympism.
Does the Paralympic movement fall under the GOA?
Absolutely. In Jamaica, I think we have a very unique but as well an advantageous position in that the Jamaica Paralympic Association is a member of the Jamaica Olympic Association. I don't think that you get that sort of situation elsewhere. It certainly has its advantages because the Paralympic movement, of course, is a governing body for parasport in Jamaica, and we are the Olympic Association, the governing body for Olympic sport. So you have two multi-sport apex bodies converging in one association, and it definitely has its advantages in terms of synergies and also developmental initiatives.
And the fact that you're the head of both.
So they say.
Okay. What are its functions, and how does the GOA receive funding?
Well, principal, as I said, we're an advocacy group, but we're also a developmental arm of the Olympic movement and sporting generally. So what you find is that we're very intimately involved in the development of our respective members, the various sports in Jamaica. We help them from an infrastructure point of view. We help them from a corporate governance point of view, a marketing point of view, and certainly a financial governance point of view. So our role is very eclectic, if you can say. Certainly, from our perspective, we feel that the association must also be very instrumental in transitioning our athletes to the international stage, because that is in fact one of the primary objectives of the Olympic movement. How can we transition our athletes to the Olympic stage where they can self-actualize? We take our role very seriously. We subscribe to the principle of servant leadership. We are here simply because the athletes are here. And if they were not here, we would not, of course, exist. So servant leadership is part of our DNA, and we take it quite seriously, as I indicated previously.
Okay. In terms of the sports covered,
yes,
are you limited to Olympic sports?
Not at all. We have, for instance, netball, which is not an Olympic sport. We have squash, which is not an Olympic sport. So we feel that we have to be inclusive, which is a principle of the Olympism.
Okay.
So we not only have members who are Olympic sports, but non-Olympics, and they have the same treatment. We believe in equity. We believe in meritocracy. You have to perform in order to, of course, get funding. But we do not discriminate when it comes to sport, because we understand that there is talent in sport which are not Olympic sports. And therefore, we have to encourage the development of those sports and give our young people in particular an opportunity to excel.
Okay. You did mention some names. Who are some of the other members of the GOA?
We have 51.
Oh my word. 51. Okay, so surely you could name, but
Absolutely.
maybe some of the more popular ones then.
Well, you track and field athletics, Jamaica Athletics Administrative Association. I will give you an idea as to our remit. So we have darts, the Jamaica Darts Association, Jamaica Chess Association. So that gives you a clear idea that we are inclusive.
Sports and games.
Absolutely. Esports. The new emerging sport, which is tech ball, which is basically football played on a curved table tennis board.
I saw that.
Absolutely. So we don't discriminate at all, because we want to give our young people an opportunity anywhere and everywhere to excel. And not everybody can be an athlete, not everybody can be a footballer, but we have demonstrated our progress in chess and also in darts.
Okay. How can newly formed sporting or games associations become a member of the GOA?
Well, certainly there's an application process. You apply, and you have to demonstrate that in fact you're a legal entity incorporated on the laws of Jamaica. You have to demonstrate that you have in fact a strategic and business plan which is actionable. In other words, it's not just simply on paper, but we can see from your demonstration that you are in the arterial sections of Jamaica working very carefully and also very closely to the talent. You also have to ensure that from a financial point of view that you have a financial governance framework in place. You have to also ensure that you are accepted by your international federation, and you have to do that by way of written evidence to us. When you make the requisite application, then you come into the association, and then you are interviewed, and you of course present your case, as it were. And we of course specify the criteria, so it is not a question that you will be shooting in the dark. You will understand what we are looking for and how you have to demonstrate in terms of your capacity to become a member of the association. Certainly it is not everybody that comes through the door, because we have to be very careful that we not only endorse a member that is functional, but somebody that can contribute to the overall development of sport and the development of our talent here in Jamaica. So it's an easy process in terms of documentation, but it is also a very testing process when you come before us.
Okay, two quick questions. How do you ensure that these member associations, their operations are above board? That's one. And what are the services offered by the GOA? I know you hinted at one or two, but broadly, what services do you offer?
Well, in terms of evaluation of our member associations, from the get-go, once you become a member, and even though you have been a member for some time, we reinforce there are certain principles of financial governance and corporate governance that you have to, of course, abide by, and that you have to demonstrate in your operations. So you have to have a functioning executive. You have to have a constitution, which is a criterion for membership. You also have to, as I mentioned previously, a strategic and business plan that you are, of course, living daily as an association. And certainly from the inception of the new administration, which I lead, I have assigned directors to certain sport. And what we say to our member associations, we have resident expertise in terms of finance, in terms of corporate governance, in terms of law. Lean on us for those expertise. And we have in fact helped quite a few associations in terms of their workshops, in terms of their strategic planning. So we're able to monitor them very closely by an interaction that is institutionalized. Now, yes, 51, we do not have all the time to monitor 51, so we have to ensure that there is a system that is inbuilt, that is devised as best in the circumstances to monitor. So we formed the association into groups. So you have the water sports, you have the court sports, you have the field sports. And we meet with them periodically, and in those meetings we reinforce the principles of corporate governance. We reinforce operational efficiency. We reinforce that's a meritocracy that we are in fact instituting, and these are the criteria by which we judge to determine whether in fact your operations are of merit. So those are the things that we do on a daily basis in terms of corporate services, finance, corporate services marketing, corporate services law. We have incorporated quite a few associations. Those that were not even incorporated when I became president, we have in fact arranged their legal business to the extent that they are now legal entities. So from a corporate governance point of view, we are trying to set our federations on a good foundation so that they not only can operate from an efficient point of view, but they can be transparent and there is a system of accountability.
And of course there's education and training.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and we do so by our, through our advanced sports management courses. We do so by way of our internship program. We have instituted for the first time an internship program at the JOA, and we have exported that. So we have, for instance, an undergrad student from the UK who is at present doing the internship at the Jamaica Olympic Association. And what we intend to do in terms of our advanced sports management course, which is a longer period, is a 6-month intense program. We are in discussions now of exporting that educational commodity to the diaspora so that we will have members of the diaspora doing that course virtually.
There must be an issue, well, conflict resolution.
Yes.
Sports, there's always conflict. Do you have an arm for that, and how are such issues handled?
Well, we have a mediation, should I say, not a formal mediation hub for those resolution of conflicts, but we encourage our member federations to first make that port of call with us. All right, I think we're such a body and mature in terms of our growth and our development that we can handle those when, of course, the conflict of interest is not resolved at the local level with the JOA, and we feel that it is best that it is resolved by a third party, that we will do so, because the fact of the matter is that our members interface with us on a daily basis, and by virtue of that interface, we of course come into being in terms of certain knowledge. Certain knowledge comes to us, and therefore we're very careful not to convey the impression that we are prejudiced by the very responsibilities that we have and have to discharge to our members. So when it gets a little bit dicey where that is concerned, we say to them, a third party needs to come in that does not have that local knowledge that we have by virtue of our interface with you to decide the issues.
Thank you very much, Sir Chris. We'll go to our break just now. Welcome back to Inside Sports. I'm Nodley Wright. Still with us is President of the Jamaica Olympic Association, Christopher Samuda, and joining us is Mrs. Nicole Case, Honorary Treasurer of the JOA and the Chairperson of Women in Sports. Thanks for staying with us. Nicole, you also handle finances as well, so I'll ask this and both of you could go in as you please. How has the JOA been impacted from a financial perspective, and how has it been able to render support to affiliate organizations? You're the money woman.
So We have a very strong fiscal policy at the GOA. It's one of the first things that when we came into office, we ensured that we could find opportunities to preserve the reserves that we had and to also generate additional revenues. And it's good that we had that foresight and we leveraged more income opportunities than before, so that we would have enough of a cushion to really take us through some of the shocks of COVID and to be able to help so many of the member associations and to give so many sports an opportunity to really vie for the Olympics. Even if they have not made it, sometimes you have to put in the effort for the next Olympics as well.
So are we still in the black then? Have money?
We're doing well, and we have continued to improve, and we continue to be very solid in our reserves so that we can handle shocks. So we are doing well.
Okay. What sort of impact has the postponement of the Olympics had on the GOA?
It really has impacted a number of our sporting associations overall in terms of their preparation. So many cancellations and so many changes and the lack of training for some of our athletes. And so we have really just stood by as many of our member associations to really be armed and ready to be able to support them financially because the dates would have changed and so many plans, but we were able to respond very quickly to most of our member associations and really help with that Olympic charge.
Okay, we're going a little bit along the gender lines now because you play more than one role.
Yes.
So there's a women's committee. So I'm going to ask you, what is the aim and objective of the Women in Sports Commission, which you are a big part of?
So our objective is to ensure that we keep the focus on ensuring that there is balance and equity among men and women in sports. And even though it's primarily focused on women, it really is about ensuring equity across our genders. And you know, the focus on women is very important because we have a role to play in all aspects, and it's important that the Commission continue to put it on the forefront, you know. And if we don't, then, you know, what will happen is that you won't have enough women having the guts to decide that I want to participate and really understand that without women, things don't happen the way it should. That's the reality. We bring our own special mix to everything, and we just really want women out there to recognize that even though sports may seem very male-dominated, we have a place to play. Indeed.
Right. What is equity, though, especially in sport?
Equity comes in many forms. It comes with financial equity, ensuring that athletes are commanding the salaries equivalent to their peers, irrespective of their gender. It should be about the value that they bring to their sport and not about their gender. There's also equity in behavior and the rules and just common respect and making sure that women are not put down in any negative way and treated with respect, free of abuse. Especially, I mean, we know that most women, and I can't say all women, most women, our muscular structure is somewhat less than the male muscular structure. And that creates a certain level of imbalance in terms of strength, as we all know. And it's very important in our movement to ensure that women feel empowered to not accept any treatment that is below standard of any human being.
Okay. I won't delve into that any deeper because that could be troubling waters. What are some of the tangible achievements that regarding how women are perceived and treated in sports locally? What are some of the achievements that you have had in redressing that imbalance? So
when the movement is not about the committee per se, it's really also about acknowledging and bringing and shedding light to all of the successes of our women and making sure that they're getting the value out there that they deserve. And unless we do that, the movement will not continue. And this is how we get sponsors to recognize that there is value in supporting female athletes in very much the same way that the men have been benefiting from many sponsorship agreements. And we see that happening. You know, our female athletes in track and field, I mean, what can we say about that? I mean, we are dominating. We're dominating, and they're commanding sponsorships of the highest level. And this is how it starts. And it may start in track and field, and we want to continue to see that happening. It's happening in swimming. It's happening in many sports. And not just the sports that are predominantly female. And that's important too.
Well, you're throwing some blows there, are going close to throwing some.
No.
I'm not going to get there with you. So, but harassment in sport, and particularly of women, is one of the taboo issues. How prominent would you say it is locally, and how are we addressing it?
I think generally we have a problem in the country overall. And certainly a commission cannot solve some of the problems. It's there in our media. It's getting a lot of voice, what's happening to our women. And certainly it's not taboo that we have had challenges in sports globally with respect to women. And it's important. What I am pleased about is that the laws in Jamaica have improved over the years to really give more protection to girls and women. Really what we need to do now is to empower our women to speak out and leverage and act and seek out the resources to help themselves and find that safe space. So these are some of the things that our committee will want to continue to work and create more safe space, work with all of the different programs that are out there instead of us trying to necessarily build from scratch, but to really just be a facilitator for our women in sports.
Are there any initiatives in place or programs to assist those who would have been harassed?
We currently don't have an existing program at the Jamaica Olympic Association, and that is something that we certainly will be looking at for the future in terms of how we can leverage our programs to really do that. It has come up for discussion, and there are several ideas among the different committee members, and I think we have to work smart as well. And there are so many programs and opportunities, and I think strong partnerships will really help us along that way.
Okay. It is good though to speak about redressing a balance and equity and all of that. But do you get the sense that more women want to be involved?
Absolutely.
It may be a silly question, but...
I absolutely believe that there are a lot of women involved in sports right now. And what you'll find, based on our last count, and we haven't done our detailed census, but we were at over 50% participation within the administration level. And one of the things is that if you don't have women representing within at the administrative level, then the voice is not necessarily going to be felt, because you need a perspective on the table so that women's issues and concerns can be raised. And so you may not necessarily see a lot of women rising to wanting to take on the leadership role, because that's where we're seeing the gap. We're still at below 10% across our membership taking on the position of president. And we really have to work on that. But we do have quite a lot of women in there toiling away silently. And I mean, that's a lot of how women work. We work in the background and we get things done, and we don't need the praise. We just get the job done. Right? What we need is to get the job done and also represent as leaders as well.
So we're looking at, and maybe I'll bring you in on this, Sir Chris, looking at swimming may be considered as a non-traditional sport from a financial perspective. What strategies are there to broaden that and to deepen the pool of talent?
Well, in terms of deepening the pool of talent, we are encouraging our member associations and federations to have a draft every 2 years, so that you look for new talent, you refresh the pool of talent, and you bring persons who normally would not be in the mainstream into the mainstream. We have also encouraged coaches in the discharge of their duties as well to ensure that they also look out for talent in their particular discipline and their particular sport. We have also encouraged presidents that they must institutionalize a method whereby they are able to garner the talent from the primary, secondary school level, because that is where it all begins, and therefore mature that talent into the secondary school system, so that by the time they reach the tertiary, if not before, they are now at the international level and they have the ability to transition to the international stage. We do not consider any of our members non-traditional. There are persons who may, of course, have that description of them, but we treat each sport as if it is a major sport. And we do so from the perspective that talent does not reside exclusively in one sport.
That's right.
And therefore we have to create the opportunities for our member association and also for our youth. So in terms of our financial support, there is equity. Clearly, we have to be strategic in terms of how we, of course, distribute the funds, because the overall objective is to ensure that we not only assume a profile in sport, regional and internationally, but we also look for the federations that can handle events. Not every federation can handle a regional event or even an international event, because you have to have that infrastructure maturity to deal with it.
Well, Sir Chris, we're just getting deeper and deeper into it, but that's all the time we have for this week's program. And we want to thank Mr. Christopher Samuda and Mrs. Nicole Case for being with us. On behalf of the production team, we say thanks for watching.